Good morning, everyone. And I would say the honorable guests on this side, because you would be the listeners who would evaluate and say that what exactly can be done on what we are sharing with you. Honorable ministers on this side, Kaka sir. I think I am a teacher and I will remain a teacher all my life. So what I will talk is what comes from the core of my heart as a teacher, having been into this profession since 1977. So reforming the governance and educational landscape in India and strategies for the future. There are quite a few things which people have shared with ICT into education, and maybe I'll touch upon them later on when I come towards the end of this. So first thing as a teacher that we talk about is what Abdul Kalam, our Honorable President, shared about India Vision 2020. Vision of freedom, vision of development, and stand up to the world. Only strength respects strength. Can we really empower the word that my speakers used out here? Empower each and every individual, and I think empowerment comes with only education. The right kind of education, and that too from the very foundation, maybe right from the womb of the mother herself. Can we empower every individual with education so that we have strength in ourselves to be self-reliant and self-independent and seek justice in the right way? I'll be using quite a few words which my speakers have used. So what Abdul Kalam shares about transforming the vision into a developed country, I tried to rearrange these headings, but I found the way he has done it perfectly right. The way sir was talking about that unless the poverty, the hunger can be removed, we cannot talk of anything else. The quality of a common man, what he aspires for, basically is the food and shelter. How do we provide that to the masses that we have all around us? That's how maybe the education sector, when it comes, is a child who comes to the school with a vision of learning, a parent who sends a child to the school, that he's happy sending the child to the school for education rather than thinking over how will I pay the fees? How will I maintain my house? Who will do the household job if I'm going out for a job? And having been into the rural-most areas of Rajasthan or even in Chennai, Ranipet or in Varanasi or in Hyderabad, probably moving around with teacher training programs, probably I have a touch of almost every part of the rural as well as the metro city of Delhi and Mumbai and Pune also. What we teachers always share with our students is vision without action is merely a dream, and action without vision is just passing time. So action and vision have to go together. Therefore, there has to be an integrated action by each one of us, whether it is ICT, whether it is agro industries, whether it is any other industry you talk about. Unless we all coordinate our efforts, India Vision 2020 will not come true, and we all have to work for it. Because I have to talk upon education landscape, I'm just showing you the first few slides which talk about how the central government of India provides the education structure. This is mainly, I'm sure each one of us is aware of that. This is the Department of Education which state governments are providing everywhere. We have a huge structures that on paper exist, which Sunil sir was sharing about. Everything remains on paper. So let's translate them into actions to have the Vision 2020 coming true. Now the challenge is of providing that quality education to the masses. Because what I share with you is next, is the population proportion for education by age group. You can have a look, the way we have distribution of the age group of 6 to 11 years, 11 to 14 years. And we are having the maximum number in the higher education group, 18 to 24 years, and yet we'll find out the amount of education in that segment is probably the least when you go to the next slides. Look at the education enrollment by age group. It's happy to see at least the younger generation coming into the education. Primary education is leading the show, and I'm sure that's credit goes to Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan and many other ventures that the government and all governments have taken over. So probably we can look forward and think of a good future with so much of population going into the primary education at least. Then we talk about this number of schools. Look at the least number of schools, the senior secondary and secondary school. When we do not have school, when we do not have the infrastructures, when we do not have the facilities, how do we talk about education is a big question for all of us. The number enrolled versus completing school. Look at the number of class 12 students moving out. Is so less as compared to the number of population that we talked about. The higher education institutions in India, the state universities are leading in number. Therefore, each one of us needs to work strongly towards vision of realizing that quality education for all of us. Now, this is something very important for all of us to look at, that the maximum enrollment is in the normal graduation and graduation honors courses. Now, what are these educated people with this kind of degrees are going to do in future is also a question for all of us. Therefore, professional institutes, vocational education, training institutes, where are they? Then we talk about the financial aspect. How much do we spend upon elementary education? Is a very happy situation as far as 2008 and 9 is concerned. Therefore, I'm sure we can all think of the future is going to be bright and be happy about it, because elementary education, as it comes up, will be a better one. Secondary education, we really need to strengthen up. Then we talk about the post-school education. My worry is that we end up spending the least on language development. We talk of ICT in education, we talk of going abroad, talk about setting up of the universities, but the language still remains a big bar. I have seen it all. The projected opportunity which will occur by 2020 in the various industries. I've just listed a few of them. How many jobs are actually appearing, required by the various industries? But where is the manpower for that? Where is the skilled power for that? Where are the training institutions for that? That is the question. Are we all ready for all this? And for all this, I'm sure we require education. That is the question that we all have to address upon. Now, the education basically starts from preschool, and basically from the school education. I like to share that. What is the status of play school and preschool education, where we lay the foundations for education? As far as my experience goes, the present status, what I have seen, is almost dominated by the private players. You can see a play school being run in a small room as well as into a 1-acre place where there is every facility is there, and a child of even 6 months is enrolled into that. Is that a very happy situation for our childhood? We all need to look into that. Most of them are unorganized. And many of them are franchises based also. There are few leading groups like Shamrock, Mother, Pride, Kidzy, Tree House, they're all having franchise. And basically, I have seen it myself, there are no regulations that we find, especially in the kindergarten group. We really need to look into that, because that's where the childhood actually is prepared for the formal educations of the future. Now, if I talk about what is the growth driver which almost every industry can look forward to, most important is the modern lifestyle which is coming up with this kind of life that we are heading towards, both the parents working. So they want a school at any cost, even at the age of 6 months. Then they're willing to pay anything that you ask for. And of course, the peer pressure, your child going to school? No, I haven't started. Oh, why not? Then the emerging trends, of course, people are becoming aware of what is elementary childhood education. There is a lot of motivation by the schools in order to attract those parents into the school. The kind of canvassing that goes is nobody's business in metro cities. Enrollment is also increasing, and schools go out of their way to retain them. We have a huge business potential of almost 6,000 to 7,000 crores. That's what the statistical data from the NET says, and I'm sure the governments and the private sectors can always come forward to do something about it. Now, issues of concern are huge disparity that exists among all the setups that are available. It's not only in terms of infrastructure and facilities, but even in terms of curriculum and pedagogy that they are following. Even in terms of the competency of the faculty that they are appointing. You can find a normal graduate, even without any training, heading the school. What to talk of teaching, heading the school. She set up a play school. Then quality teacher training institutes, we really need to look into that. Admission process, I know we had Ganguly committee and fixation of entry age at 4 years by the government, but then this whole fiasco starts when comes September, October, and the pressure on the parents for admission into primary schools, especially of the formal schools. You can really, really see the parents cribbing over each and every issue because it's still not streamlined at all. What I feel is, for the future, we can have a regulatory framework for running a preschool the way we have for the senior organizations. An outline of curriculum for sure be set up for at least based on the ECE. Norms for appointment of faculty must be strictly specified because the way the children are being handled in those preschools and play schools, you really need to have a look at them. Most important, which my experience says, is child counselors should be must in these schools because they are the ones who can actually guide the people around there and even the parents that what kind of education and how it should be imparted to the children at that age group is very, very important. And then widespread network in rural areas because we're talking of India as a whole emerging up. So wide network in the rural area is also equally expected. Looking at the elementary education, again you find this setup, present setup that is organized schooling which is shared by government and private. Private players are in the urban sector only and still there is lack of a regulatory framework. You can set up a school and government NOC comes only at grade 8. I can keep on running the school to the full strength till grade 7th. Nobody asked me. I've seen that happening. Drivers are, of course, the preference is given to a private school. Even a maid wants to send the child to a private school because the child should speak English. Of course, the requirement for 21st century, my child should go to somewhere. Emerging trends basically are demand for quality education, and we see here the largest possible scope for private-public partnership, where quality schools can be established because there is a huge potential, at least in rural areas. And I'm sure I'll request the Honorable Ministers here to put forward, including Sunil sir also, to put forward those kinds of guidelines where we can have a school within probably the reach of the child, where he can just walk up to the school and come back home. And these are some of the annual status education reports which we can really be worried about, and this is released 2010. We are happy to see that 96% children are enrolled, but yet we are looking forward for quality education because the report says that around 40% of all rural children in Standard 5 India are at least 3 grade levels behind based on their level of learning. So what are we looking forward for? Are we looking forward for the number of enrollment in these schools or for the quality of education that we are imparting to all of them? So the question remains, is Indian education sector really progressing further with higher enrollment rates that we are happy about? Because what the child is learning is also equally important. It's not the child is being sent to the school, but a child cannot read letters, child cannot read grade level 2 book, child cannot recognize numbers. So what is the quality of education that we are talking about? This is the Pratham Surveys report, which is an authentic report, of course. These are, again, the uncomfortable truths that we have about education. The colored states are doing better. So dropout check is required. Motivation for enrollment is required. Motivation is required. Reward for performance that Sir was talking about is required at every level. Strategies for the future. We have to have basically the infrastructure and facilities. They are not available. So what kind of ICT that I can talk about into education? What kind of ICT governance I can talk about in the places where I do not even have the water and toilet facilities? We have 60 students sitting in one classroom and one teacher taking the class. How do we manage that? So first priority comes to provision of infrastructure and facilities in every respect so that education can be made a rewarding purpose. For quality education, even if I have the infrastructure and facilities, teachers' quality is equally important for me. What they are teaching, how they are teaching, because I have been doing the teacher training programs all across India. Then it's really a matter of concern for me that how the education is being imparted. Is it a rote learning? Are we making the child learn it? Are we making the child just cram up the things and come back and write and then say you got 96%? Therefore, we need to really look into all those aspects. And of course, ICT has to be made compulsory because that's the way we can keep pace with the changing times. And I agree with whatever has been shared on the platform as on time now, that ICT is the only way that we can emerge winners for Vision 2020. Now, talking about the senior school education, this is more of organized. You have rules and regulations, you have boards, we have Kendriya Vidyalayas, we have Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas, all kinds of schools, but still probably the domination is by private schools only, in urban sector at least. There's a lot of increment in enrollment ratio. People are wanting education, people are wanting quality education. Therefore, probably we can have a lot of private and public partnership for setting up quality schools which can impart education with ICT included into it. Talking about higher education beyond 12th, it's even more highly organized because we have all university structure which is highly regulated. That's growing rapidly. We have preference still children going for foreign universities. We have to check out that. And then we have demand for various course subjects that should be offered to the children. We say that various career options are available. So where are these subjects and courses available for them at the university level? Again, we can have a lot of collaboration and cooperation with the foreign universities in order to give that quality education which the parents, Indian parents and children are looking forward to. Now, there have been a lot of initiatives by the government for educational reforms. I'm just putting them one by one out there. And we can be really proud of that we have made a lot of progress on this. But there is a need for paradigm shift, and the government alone cannot do this. The private sector has to come forward. The government will create appropriate environment for investment by private sector. That's what 2010 announcement. And after that, we have a lot of incentives that have come in for education by Aziz Premji's foundation, announcing the school, Vedanta Group announcing the schools, Reliance Foundation to set up the World School, Aditya Birla Group setting up the schools, India's universities, India's initiative to sign up the memorandum with universities of UK is another improvement that we are looking forward to. But can we walk the talk for Vision 2020 with these kinds of reforms? Because the literacy rate of India still remains 61% only. Are we doing justice to that? So let's ponder on that how to start the basic process of education and empowerment with education. Talking of vocational education, which could be a very, very good setup for all of us, especially for India, with so much of rural population. But then probably that's not valued, that is not recognized, people don't want to do it, or maybe people are not even aware of it. So we have to use all kinds of media in order to exploit this vocational education, because what we see here from the education point of view is that out of the 5.5 million students that pass out of class 10th, 3.3 million only go to class 11th. What happens to the remaining 2.2 million? Where are they? The dropouts. How do I check them? How do I educate them? Is my question. Rest, of course. Now, this is something very, very serious for all of us, that educated unemployed. If they are uneducated, unemployed, there is one question. But if they are educated and unemployed, that's rural areas is 57% and urban areas 65%, even worried. Of all the new employments generated, unorganized sector is giving us 97%. The unemployment rate of India's graduates are still 17.2% than the overall unemployment rate of 10.2. So 2.5 million graduates every year are unemployed. So why can't we look forward for something that we can do about them? Now, something that the earlier speakers have shared is, it's very essential for us to look at that each area, each subject, each region, each thing is different. Therefore, we need to have a policy which fits into their requirements. So we have to look into that kind of setup where each problem, each area can be customized, the word that was used. Now, challenge is to create an integrated system that can provide access to quality education, because without that, we cannot have quality life that we were talking about. Innovative ways, of course, ICT has to come to rescue to the sector of education to provide faster expansion of opportunities of education to all. That bridges the huge gap that we were talking about between education and employability. Huge gap between government and private sectors for rewards of performance also. Huge gaps that exist between rural and urban areas. Huge gap of that ego also that I belong to this area. That between the generations, that need to be taken care of. That promotes social equality and economical viability. That is something very important, that economically viable system has to work out. We have to redefine the education landscape for Vision 2020. Therefore, integration of vocational education, though we started it in 1980 when 10+2 scheme was introduced, the idea was that only, that we should have diversification into the streamlined proper education and the vocational education. But somehow we had those things coming up only for some time, but it didn't flourish. So we have to integrate vocational education at the school level to impart the basic technical skills. Professional career counseling, probably we can do it to the youth at every level so that they know what are the avenues available to them for their qualification and for their age and for their area also. School dropouts, I'm sure we need to take care of in order to build that vision of India 2020. Extensive use of ICT in skill training. Because even if I say that I belong to an e-learning content company, I tell teachers use it. My teachers do not even know the computer. My teachers schools do not even have a computer. Then what can I do with your content? Can you please tell me? That's the question that I get when I stand in conferences. Now, creation of large-scale infrastructure and skill development opportunities is very, very essential for. The skill mapping to identify precise skill requirement for the growth of industry-grade manpower. Industry needs something else, university produces something else, school has something else. So all these gaps need to be actually bridged so that when the child passes out from the university, he says that I'm employable. I can be self-independent, self-reliant individual. Affordability, an informal system to be valued. An integrated model of skill building through optimum utilization of available existing resources can also help it out. Now, private participation, because this is what probably I think that 7%, this is the statistical data, it's only 7% in primary, 21% in upper primary, and 32% in secondary level. So we can have the facilitating the participation of this private sector into almost every aspect of school education. Now this is something key industries into education which have the trend in the recent years is the e-learning content companies, e-governance, school management solutions, one-stop solution that we talk about. Probably they can play a huge role in bridging all those gaps, providing education to the rural-most areas. By providing that kind of infrastructure of technology by which we can have connectivity, which Ravi Saxena sir was talking so much about ICT, the way Gujarat has given so much of connectivity to the rural areas. The way we talk about school on wheels, the way we talk about national knowledge networks, the way that sir was talking about, there's sir sitting about Philippines, I'm talking to him, the way they provide mobile vans for schools, the way they have edusets, the way they talk about connecting each and every segment, that's what ICT probably can do to bridge these gaps of education at every level and employability and create that quality life for a common man which we all are aspiring for. Rural area specific strategy, probably we have to cater to specific curriculum which fits into their areas. There has to be flexibility, there has to be vocational education, there have to be industry-oriented courses for employment, there has to be short duration courses. These courses should be certified, they should be made valid so that when they go to any company, they take it as a certified course being done by those individuals. And creating awareness about these courses is also very, very important. Of course, we all need financial assistance. Probably these kinds of loans or bank assistance could be given to the individuals, to be given to the organizations who are actually venturing into education. This is something, media support, which was recently talked about, social networking, the networks, the webs, www, that we talk about worldwide website, but we talk about whatever, whenever, wherever. We talk about AAA in schools, anytime, anything, anywhere, which has created cooperation, collaboration at every level, which has created learning communities across the globe. Therefore, how can we use all these medias actually for promoting the concepts of education, awareness about what is available in education, and tapping all those potentials? There are always award ceremonies for everything else but for education, very few of them. There are every time on the TV or on the networks or in the newspapers, you have advertisements only for celebrities of different sectors, Bollywood, Tollywood, this, that, but never for educations. Can we actually use every type of media to promote and give rewards of performance to individuals, to principals, to teachers, to institutions who are doing their bit in the sector of education? Maybe this can help us create a lot of awareness. Whatever is being shared on the table today by all these dignitaries around here, maybe if it is made public and known to everyone, we will come to know of many more things which we can be replicating in the areas where they are not existing. So media support in every way can come to the rescue of all of us along with ICT to change the landscape of India education. And as a teacher, I will always like to conclude with the lines, we give them roots, we give them wings, and great joys from little things. A hope that they will soar, a hope that they will try. We are sure that soon our children will learn to fly. Our education system must aim at creating enterprising personas, entrepreneurs for self-reliant, self-assured, independent youth, a progressive India, India Vision 2020. Thank you.